Hello, welcome to Makeup and Monarchies. If you're new here, my name's Tiffany. I am a hairstylist, makeup artist, and lover of all things UK medieval history. I'm so happy that you're here and to watch. This week we're talking about Margaret of Anjou. She was wife to Henry VI and had a huge role in the War of the Roses. I will be creating this look while we talk about Margaret. I am going to give you a warning. I've nicknamed Warwick something new, so that's in there. But anyways, about makeup. I tried 2 new products today. I'm not crazy about the lips. I did use something new, and you can scroll down and see what it is. I will be returning it. I'm going to give it another try and try it differently, but don't always fall for the viral bullshit you see. So yeah, if all the products will be listed down below. If you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe. That really helps me out. And yeah, I think that's it. So with that being said, let's get into it. Hello. I just tanned my face, so don't mind this. It is what it is. So today we're talking about Margaret of Anjou. And if you're not familiar with her, she was the wife of Henry VI of England. So Margaret was born on March 23rd of 1430, almost at 15. I'm gonna side note here because I'm not great with French pronunciation, so I'm apologizing ahead of time throughout this entire video because it's probably not going to be good, but so sorry. And my spots are awful. Blah, blah, blah. So she was born at Pont-à-Mousson in Lorraine. I hope I said that right. Lorraine was a land of the Holy Roman Emperor just east of France. I know I'm doing this a little bit different. I usually let it sit, but let's see if this works. I'm using a new foundation today, and I have not opened it yet. This will be the first time I open it, and a new lip today, which is exciting. Anywho, so Lorraine was land of the Holy Roman Emperor just east of France. It was ruled by a cadet branch of the French kings, the House of Valois and Anjou. You've probably heard both Valois and Anjou through different people in history, so this is where they come from. Margaret was the second-born daughter to Rene, King of Naples, and Isabel, Duchess of Lorraine. Rene, who was known as Good King Rene, was also Duke of Anjou and King of Naples, Sicily, and Jerusalem. So Margaret was baptized at Tulle in Lorraine and spent her early years at Tarascon Castle, that's how I'm saying that, on the river Rhone in Provence, as well as in the old royal palace of Capua near Naples. Capua, I don't know, that sounds more Hawaiian than anything, but her education was arranged by her mother and was probably taught by the scholar Antoine de La Salle. She was interested in French romances and hunting. When Margaret was young, she was known as Le Petite Creature. Help me out. Do you know French? Help me the hell out. Margaret came from a long line of badass, strong women. Her mother fought wars on behalf of her husband while he was imprisoned by the Duke of Burgundy and ruled the Duchy of Lorraine in her own right. Her paternal grandmother, Yolande of Aragon, ruled the Duchy of Anjou as regent while Margaret was young. It's assumed this was the basis of how and why she was regent for her son later in life and helped her husband while he was out of commission during their marriage. For now, I'm saying he was out of commission. It's a whole thing. So speaking of marrying, Margaret, at 14 years old, met with English envoys on May 4th of 1444 to discuss her marriage to the 22-year-old English king, Henry VI. On May 24th, she was formally betrothed to Henry by proxy, and her uncle Charles VII of France was present. It's often thought that he was the one who suggested this marriage to bring peace between the two countries, as the Hundred Years' War had just ended. William de la Pole negotiated the marriage and a small dowry of 20,000 francs was included, as well as the territories of Majorca and Minorca. Those had been occupied by the crown of Aragon for centuries. The settlement also held a 23-month truce with France. So to get Margaret to England, there were loans that were taken out, and the petition for the money was explained that both the marriage and Margaret would help solidify peace between England and France. Margaret left France and landed in England on April 9th of 1445. I'm using the Sultry palette by Anastasia Beverly Hills today, which oldie but goodie. Like, I love this one. It's old, and I'm sure they don't have it anymore, but this is a good one. Anywho, getting back to it. Margaret and Henry were married on April 23rd of 1445 at Titchfield Abbey in Hampshire. She was now 15, he was 23. Her ring was made of gold and garnished with a ruby. The ceremony itself was performed by William, I'm going to say Ascough, Bishop of Salisbury. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. Again, there was a warning in the beginning. Sorry. He was the king's confessor. It said she did receive a unique wedding gift, a lion, that was given to her by an unknown, unrecorded person to us. It ended up being kept at the menagerie at the Tower of London, which I did a video about that months ago, but I'll link it down below. The Tower of London's a really, really interesting place. Like, what's been done there, what it was a long time ago. And honestly, you could spend all day in that place. I know I could. The 3 hours wasn't enough. So she finally got to London on May 28th and met with the mayor and the aldermen of the city. The crowds for her reception were expected to be huge. So an inspection of roofs and balconies had been performed, so they were safe for the public to view her coming in. Her ceremonial progress through the city took 2 days. Her first night was spent at the Tower of London. Back then, it was a royal residence. Don't get all hot and bothered, so calm down. She was entertained by 8 theatrical pageants. 5 of them were about peace with France. Was this ass kissing? Maybe. Margaret's coronation took place on May 30th at Westminster Abbey. She was crowned by John Stafford. I'm just gonna come in and I might do a halo today. I need the other mirror. Archbishop of Canterbury. Not long after her coronation, her father started negotiations with Henry VI to try and barter a lifetime alliance and a 20-year truce in exchange for the surrender of Maine, which England held, to give it to Anjou, and for Henry to give up his claim to Anjou. This did not end well. No alliance with Anjou came, and they lost Maine. Margaret and Henry communicated with Charles VI, Charles VII, about the agreement. Margaret attempted to act as the mediator. Maine was a hot button issue with the English people, and Margaret's reputation suffered because of it. William de la Pole was blamed for the loss, as he was part of the marriage negotiations. Margaret and Henry spent a lot of time together by choice. They both enjoyed education and culture. On May 30th, 1448, she was granted license to found Queen's College in Cambridge. It's during this time that some of Margaret's letters survive. Most of them are about acts of intercession, mediation, and intervention in matters she was asked to act on. Some of the things were arranging marriages, return of stolen property, and collection of alms. These were the things that were expected of the queen, but if you ask me, it sounds like a bunch of petty bullshit and busy work. So Henry had been king since he was 10 months old. I know this looks crazy right now. I'm sorry. And he had always been controlled by protectors or regents. So he wasn't a great king. He was more interested in religion and education than military issues, which probably was his part of the issue with him. Meaning, why? I don't think he knew what to do because he hadn't been taught and just ruled through. Whatever, my opinion. Mentally, Henry had become ill and very unstable. around 1453. Although it had been unstable at the time of their marriage, meaning mentally he had been unstable at the time of their marriage. I'm just gonna connect these two right now. So this caused a huge concern for the nobles, since at the time, all right, so this color is super frosted. So I'm just gonna go back in, because I did put shadow on my entire lid. I'm just gonna go back in and just kind of press them in, so we're acting as though it's glue for this frosted bit. So it was a huge issue for the nobles. My eyes look fucking crazy right now. Since at the time there was no heir, however, Margaret was pregnant. Their first and only child, a son, was born on October 13th of 1453. It was a boy named Edward of Westminster, Prince of Wales. At this point, Henry had suffered multiple complete mental breakdowns. Margaret retired from London to live in Greenwich. So I'm just going to go back in with that other dark color to kind of bring this together. So Margaret retired from London to live in Greenwich and raise her son. She didn't get involved with politics until she felt that her husband was threatened with deposition by Richard Plantagenet, Duke of York. Richard had been appointed as Lord Protector while Henry was in a catatonic state. So what does that mean? Because if you're familiar with this time frame in English history, this is referred to a lot. What is a catatonic state? So being in a catatonic state is being awake but unable to talk and know where you are. So I would almost, layman's terms, he was completely out of it. Henry was out from 1453 to 1454. I wonder, it's said that possibly schizophrenia, as I think about this and work it through, I wonder if it was like early onset Alzheimer's. I mean, I don't know. That's Henry's story, and we'll get to Henry when we do that. Now, Richard, getting back to this, Richard had a legit claim to the throne. He was backed by a lot of the nobility. He was also ambitious and up for the job. Margaret was still unpopular, but still determined to keep the crown for her child, the heir to the throne. Some historians have thought that Margaret's downfall was on her own accord based on her unpopular allies. Others believe it was the hostility between Richard and Margaret at the time he became Lord Protector. There's a lot more that goes on here, but that's more of Richard's story, and so we'll get there. I'm gonna jump off and do my liner. I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. The country was in upheaval at the time. Lancastrians wanting to maintain Henry on the throne, and the Yorks backing Richard for the throne because Henry was too ill to rule. I'm gonna go in with foundation now. I have not opened this yet. This is like that viral tier, I think it's called. It's like a cushion foundation. If you're not here for the makeup and for the history, I apologize, but I can't even fucking open the thing. I legit haven't opened this. I promise you I won't do the stupid surprised face when I put this on. I'm nervous because I've never tried. I hope the color is good and not too light. We'll see. That is fucking awful. Seriously? People rave about this? Sorry if you're like not here for this. I don't know. Let's see if we can save this. Oh, it smells weird too. We'll see. I don't like this thing at all. Sorry, guess who's not going to get sponsored by this company ever? Me. This is 25N Mocha. This isn't Mocha to me. This is really light. I'm so glad I bought the little one. All right, so battles were fought. Oh my fucking God. This is not good. I gotta save this. Battles were fought. The first one was St. Albans. That was the main first one. This was a York victory. Edmund Beaufort was killed and Henry was taken as prisoner. This wasn't like, I'm gonna shout out to my Max because I called upon and needed some help. So this wasn't like captured, like he was taken prisoner. He was like kept under house arrest, so he still had like servants and he could still see people, so he wasn't like imprisoned yet. However, within a few months, Margaret regained control of Henry and Parliament was dissolved. The Speaker of the Speaker was put into prison and Richard went to Wales. Not for long though. In 1457, a French general Earl by the name of Pierre Debray was, oh my god, I hope I can save this foundation. It's awful. Or landed in, so Pierre lands in England and torched the town of Sandwich. This was bad news bears for Margaret because the French ties she had, because of the French ties, she became subject to defamatory rumors and naughty worded ballads. So because of all this bullshit, Margaret was forced to give Richard Neville fucking Warwick commission to keep the sea for 3 years. He was already holding post of Captain of Calais, which was an English territory at the time. All right, we're getting there, guys. I'm hoping this saves it. The War of the Roses was in full swing. In 1459, another battle, the Battle of Blore Heath, took place, and this was in York history. A York victory again. Margaret was trying to get more support for the Lancastrians, so she went up to Scotland. While she was there, there was a principal commander, Henry Beaufort, Duke of Somerset, gained victory for the Lancastrians at the Battle of Wakefield. It took place on December 30th of 1460, and he took down both of the armies of Richard, Duke of York, and Richard Neville, Earl of Salisbury. This was Warwick's father. Both Salisbury and York were executed, and their heads were displayed on spikes at the gates of York. Like I said a minute ago, Margaret was in Scotland at the time, so there was no feasible way that she could have called for their executions. Following this was another battle at St. Albans on February 17th of 1461. Margaret was present for this battle, and the Yorks were defeated, and Henry VI was recaptured. He had been under this capture house arrest for 5 to 6 years. So Margaret, I think this is where her nickname, or what she was known as, comes in. She ordered the executions of William Bonville and Sir Thomas Kyrell. These guys had watched over Henry and kept him safe during the battle. So Henry had promised immunity to them. Clearly, Margaret was either wasn't privy to this information or didn't give a fuck. So the Battle of Towton was fought next. It was another York victory. Henry was deposed, and Edward, Earl of March, son of Richard, Duke of York, proclaimed himself king. Margaret took her son, left England, went to Wales, and then went up to Scotland. They were there for a bit, and then they sailed to France to try and gain support to put Henry back on the throne. She gained an ally in King Louis the 11th of France. She did have some support from men that had been Yorkists but got screwed over. During this time, she held court at the castle of Coire. Again, French is not my forte. Anyways, now we're going to go forward a bit to 1470. Richard Neville, fucking Earl of Warwick, and George, fucking Duke of Clarence, arrive in France seeking an ally in Margaret. So I did a video on War of the Roses, my first one ever. So if you want to go back and watch that cringy thing, go right ahead. I may do another one, but that goes into more of what happened here. So George and Warwick, I'm probably gonna end up calling him fucking Warwick every time I mention his name. I can't stand him. Had just fought Edward's army in the Lincolnshire Rebellion and had failed. So they go to France to gain support. It took a little over 2 weeks or a fortnight for fucking Warwick to talk Margaret into joining forces with them. Part of the agreement was that Richard's daughter, Anne, was to marry Margaret's son, Edward of Westminster. And so the two were married at Angers Cathedral, Angers, on December 13th of 1470. Margaret insisted prior to the wedding that fucking Warwick return to England and be the kingmaker again and restore Henry to the throne. And he did. Henry was back on the throne 2 months before his son got married on October 3rd, 1470. So Margaret, her son, and her new daughter-in-law go to leave France to go back to England. They land and they find out that Warwick had been killed prior to them getting there at the Battle of Barnet on April 14th of 1471. Margaret was then forced to lead her troops into the Battle of Tewkesbury on May 4th. Clearly, the force was not with her that day because it was a York defeat, and Edward of Westminster was killed. Not sure if it was like during battle or if it was like afterwards, but Margaret was left broken. A side of her that nobody had seen before. She was taken captive by Edward, or actually by William Stanley for Edward, and imprisoned on the orders of Edward IV. At first, she was taken to Wallingford Castle and imprisoned, but was then transported to the Tower of London, where her husband was already being held. Henry died on the night of May 21st of 1471. It's said that his passing was caused by a broken heart upon hearing the news that his son had died, or he was smothered by a pillow. We'll never know. Margaret was put into custody of her former lady-in-waiting, Alice Chaucer, Duchess of Suffolk. She was there, that happened in 1472. She was there until Louis XI of France paid a ransom for her in 1475. I am not doing my mascara yet. I am going to do this, and then I'm going to jump off and do that. Actually, I am going to jump off and do that. So Margaret lived in France for the last 7 years of her life. I'm going to put on my new, sorry, I just pulled this out and didn't mean to. Sachet. No, it's Sachet. This is the lip liner stay in. So this is the stuff that it's like a peel off. Like it's going to sit for, I'm going to put it on. It's going to look fucking wild. And then it sits for 10 minutes and then peel it off. And then it's like a lip stain. I got the color pinked. So we'll see how this goes. She lived in France for the last 7 years of her life as a poor relative of the king, and was hosted by Francis de Venoy. Margaret died in his castle, in Francis's castle, Dampierre-sur-Loire, which was near Anjou, at the age of 53 on August 25th of 1482. Her final resting place was in Angers Cathedral next to her parents. So I'm gonna put this on. It's like friggin' black. It's gonna look crazy. I've already seen it online. So I'm gonna put this on. It's gotta sit for 10 minutes and then it'll peel off. So what I'm gonna do is I'll put it on now. I'll go finish my hair and then I will be back for the final reveal and our fun facts for this episode. So I'll be right back. All right, I said I'd put this on. I'm nervous because it's like black. Would have looked cool if I did black, but I don't know if you're supposed to put this together, but it dries down really fast. I will say that. So I'll be back. So it's been 10 minutes. I curled my hair, so I had time to do that. It looks like patent leather, but I think it's ready to peel. I'm like praying to God this is like not pink like it shows online. Okay, so I don't know about this. So it never like maybe I did it too much. I don't know. Hold on, I gotta wipe this all up. I'm gonna try and save this. So thankfully I bought this through Amazon and not direct. I'm going to return it. Or I'll try it again. This is not pink. I'm trying to save this with some Lip Dew from Vive. This is not pink. It's like purple. I'm not a fan. Maybe I'll do something. Oh, the picture is gonna look different, the thumbnail. You already know that. I'm saying it because I do it afterwards. I am not a fan. I'm going to put on Stone from MAC. I don't like this and it is going back. I'm going to try it again just to line my lips. But anyways, all right, let's get into fun facts because I'm frustrated. Garbage. This is what happens when you fall for online makeup stuff. Ugh. Anyway, so fun facts for today for Margaret. It's possible that Elizabeth Woodville was a servant to Margaret. There were a few Elizabeth Greys on the list. She could have been one of them because her first husband's last name was Grey. And I think it would be possible because her mother, Jaquetta, who we did last week, was close with Margaret. So it is very possible. Like I said earlier, some of her letters survive today, or they did survive, but they were put in a book and were published, or the book was published in 1863. Lastly, I did say that her resting place was, I don't know if you noticed before, but I said was. So sadly, her remains were removed and scattered during the French Revolution. So there's nothing left, which I think is awful. That is it for today. I hope that you enjoyed. Even though my makeup stuff was a catastrophe, I don't know if I would recommend either one of these products. I'm sorry. I wish that I could say different. My teeth are all stained pink now. My tongue is stained from it. I don't know if I put too much on. The color is definitely not that. This is like purpley dark. So with that being said, if you enjoyed this episode, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below, either if I fucked up the French or you have something to say about Margaret or whatever you thought. I would greatly appreciate it. It helps me in the algorithm. Also, you can go follow me on Instagram and TikTok, Makeup and Monarchy, so I can be found there. And lastly, if you enjoy this and you want to support me in my endeavors on social media, you can head on over to buymeacoffee.com/makeup and monarchies and donate money to buy me a coffee from Starbucks. That would be great. Anyways, I hope that you enjoyed this episode and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a great one. Bye.